2 seasons, Silo has kept us focused on one question: what happened to the world outside? Every mystery seemed to point beyond the walls of Silo 18. Was the air really poisonous? Could anyone survive on the surface? Were there other people still alive? But what if we've all been looking in the wrong direction? What if Season 3 is about to reveal that the biggest mystery was never the apocalypse at all? What if the real story has always been about the people who built the silos and the terrifying reason they believed humanity belonged underground? Apple's official description for Season 3 confirms that we'll finally see an origin story set centuries before Juliet's timeline, and that single sentence could completely redefine everything we've watched so far. Before we jump in, here's a quick recap. Season 2 ended with Juliet uncovering an even larger world than she ever imagined. She escaped Silo 18, survived outside, discovered another silo, and realized that her home was only one piece of something much bigger. Inside Silo 18, rebellion pushed the leadership to its breaking point, while the final moments introduced Daniel and Helen in a completely different era. At first, that scene felt disconnected from everything else, but looking back, it now feels like the true beginning of Season 3's mystery. And before we open the biggest vault of secrets this show has ever teased, do me one favor, hit that subscribe button. It's much safer than volunteering for a cleaning, and unlike Bernard, I promise I won't wipe your records afterward. Now let's get into why Season 3 could change the meaning of Silo forever. The biggest clue isn't hidden inside Silo 18, it's hidden in the fact that the show is finally looking backward instead of forward. For 2 seasons, we've watched characters uncover fragments of history without ever seeing the people who actually lived through it. That's about to change. Apple has confirmed that Season 3 will split its attention between Juliet's present-day struggle and an origin story set centuries earlier.
The founders didn't build a single silo. They built 50.
Technically 51.
That tells us something important. The writers no longer want us asking what the silos are, they want us asking why they exist at all.
Why?
Good question. I don't know.
That shift in perspective changes everything. Until now, the silos have simply been treated as the reality these characters were born into. The rules, the hierarchy, the rituals, and even the cleanings all feel ancient and unquestionable. But every system has a beginning. Someone designed those rules. Someone decided knowledge should be restricted. Someone concluded that generations of people should grow up believing the outside world was impossible to survive. Season 3 looks ready to ask who made those decisions and whether they were ever justified. The Season 2 finale quietly laid the foundation for that story through Daniel and Helen. Their conversation immediately felt different from everything else we'd seen because it belonged to a world that still looked familiar. It wasn't a society rebuilding after disaster. It was a society standing on the edge of one. References to dirty bombs and growing international tension suggest that the series is exploring an escalating political crisis rather than treating the apocalypse as a random historical event. Whether the television adaptation follows every detail from Hugh Howey's novels or chooses a different path, the implication is the same. Civilization didn't simply collapse overnight. There were people making decisions as events spiraled beyond control. Apple has also revealed that Daniel and Helen uncover a conspiracy with catastrophic, irreversible consequences. That description alone tells us their storyline isn't just background history, it's the engine that explains everything we've seen in the present. Instead of portraying the silos as mysterious relics left behind after disaster, Season 3 appears ready to examine the decisions that transformed them into humanity's last refuge, or perhaps its greatest prison. Daniel may become one of the most fascinating characters introduced so far because he represents a perspective we've never explored before. Juliet has always searched for truth from the bottom of the system, discovering secrets that powerful people wanted buried. Daniel's story appears positioned on the opposite side of that equation. Rather than uncovering lies that have existed for generations, he may witness those lies taking shape in real time. That contrast could become one of Season 3's strongest narrative ideas. Juliet asks how people were controlled. Daniel asks how that control began. Helen is equally important. Apple's description identifies her as a journalist investigating the same conspiracy, pulling Daniel into the center of events. Journalists exist to ask uncomfortable questions, to challenge official narratives, and to preserve facts before they're erased. That makes Helen a natural counterpart to Juliet. even though they live centuries apart. Both women pursue truth in worlds that would rather keep it hidden. The difference is that Helen searches before history changes, while Juliet searches long after history has already been rewritten. This also suggests that Season 3 will feel very different from the first two seasons. Much of Silo has been built around mystery, survival, and discovery within a single underground community. An origin story opens the door to something broader, a political thriller examining fear, power, and the consequences of decisions made by ordinary people during extraordinary circumstances. Instead of asking whether the outside world can be trusted, the series may ask whether humanity's leaders deserved the trust they were given in the first place. Meanwhile, Juliet's story remains just as important. Apple has confirmed that she survives and returns while dealing with memory loss, immediately creating a fascinating challenge. Juliet has always relied on determination, intelligence, and her understanding of machines. If parts of her memory are missing, she may become a symbol before she can fully become a leader again. The people of Silo 18 have already begun treating her as someone capable of changing everything. Imagine the pressure of carrying that hope while struggling to remember who you were. Lucas also seems positioned for a much larger role. Over the past two seasons, he's demonstrated intelligence, curiosity, and a willingness to question authority, even while operating within the system. With the existing power structure shaken by rebellion, Season 3 could place him in situations where loyalty, knowledge, and responsibility collide. The future of Silo the 18th of May depend not only on people willing to expose the truth, but also on people willing to decide what should happen once the truth is known. Another mystery likely to become much more important is the existence of other silos. Solo's introduction already proved that Silo 18 is not unique. That revelation alone expanded the scope of the series dramatically. If there are many silos, then someone must have coordinated them. Someone must have established common rules, preserved technology, and maintained a larger purpose connecting every underground community. The idea that there could be a central authority watching over the system raises disturbing questions about surveillance, governance, and the possibility that the people inside each silo have always been part of a much larger experiment. Looking back, even Bernard begins to appear differently through that lens. Throughout Seasons 1 and 2, he seemed like the ultimate authority inside Silo 18. But if a larger system exists, Bernard becomes something else entirely. Not the architect, but a caretaker following instructions handed down through generations. His confidence, secrecy, and willingness to sacrifice individuals for what he believed was the greater good may have reflected a system far older than himself. Season 3 could reveal that even the people enforcing the rules were trapped inside them. Perhaps that's the central idea tying the entire series together. Every major character believes they're protecting something. Bernard protects order. Juliet protects truth. Solo protects survival. Daniel and Helen may try to protect the future before it's too late. Yet every one of them is forced to confront the same difficult question. How much freedom should humanity sacrifice in exchange for safety? That's a question far larger than the walls of any silo, and it's one that feels increasingly relevant as the story moves toward its conclusion. Looking even further ahead, Apple's confirmation that Season 4 will conclude the adaptation suggests that Season 3 will be the chapter where questions finally begin receiving answers. If that's true, then the final season can focus less on discovering the truth and more on deciding what to do with it. Juliet's greatest challenge may not be exposing the past. It may be convincing people to build a different future. And that's why I believe Season 3 could become the most important season of Silo yet. Not because it reveals another hidden room or another shocking secret, but because it changes the entire conversation. The mystery is no longer whether humanity survived. It's whether humanity lost something even more valuable while trying to survive. Once the series reveals who built the silos and why they believed secrecy was necessary, every cleaning, every rebellion, every forbidden relic, and every sacrifice we've witnessed will take on a completely new meaning. The greatest twist may not be what happened to the world outside. It may be discovering that the people inside the silos have been living inside someone else's decisions for generations. And if Juliet is the one destined to break that cycle, then Season 3 won't simply expand the world of Silo, it could redefine what the story has been about from the very beginning.